As if I didn't have enough to do already, we founded the Global Legal Blockchain Consortium a year ago, and then about 9 months ago, we founded something called the Global Legal Hackathon, which many people in this room either supported directly as sponsors. We see Walter Kluwer, thank you very much. We built the hackathon, we created the hackathon really with the ethic of sort of blockchain, community, distributed network. We thought it fit really well, and we've been obsessed really for the last year trying to build this global community from nothing. Right? I mean, we, as Jay mentioned in his opening remarks, we only announced the consortium a year ago. It was the sort of thing where you throw a party and you wonder if anyone's going to show up, and here we are today. So I'm very gratified to see all the organizations, Walter Kluwer, Thomson Reuters, NetDocuments, Serve Manager, ALA, others, that have really embraced this. And there's been a lot of overlap, in fact, between the hackathon and the GLBC. But I just wanted to quickly touch on this because the page down. Again, in the spirit of building global community, we threw this out there, to see who would raise their hand and participate. And what happened, I just want to recap for people in this room what the hackathon ended up being. So we had over 5,000 people around the world that participated. There were 40 cities in which local versions of the hackathon took place. I think we were in 22 countries. And the entire thing culminated with a final round gala in New York City in April. Tremendous success. But the reason I wanted to showcase this today was we discovered among the 5,000 participants and about 600 teams, if you can imagine that around the world, about 30% of the projects, about 30%, and we would consider this to be maybe a leading indicator for blockchain technology in the legal community, about 30% of the projects were blockchain-based. So just think about it in the context of current legal software and how much blockchain software and law there is and is not at the moment. So if the hackathon was a leading indicator, and we thought that was a good sample size between 22 countries and 40 cities and 600 teams, if 30% of that bleeding edge innovation, teams from around the world, so a global effect, if 30% of that was blockchain applications, I think that gives us a sense of what may be coming. So I just wanted to get that stat out there and quickly, for the purposes of thinking about next year and organizations in this room, some of whom have already approached me about participating, I want to say that given how substantive, how substantial that blockchain participation was, what we're envisioning doing for year 2 of the hackathon, which will again kick off in February, is have an actual unified blockchain track. So to begin to, in the spirit of coalescing this community around standards and shared development and mutualized investment, is we're going to, as part of the hackathon umbrella, which we think is going to probably double in size this year to maybe 10,000, maybe more, is actually have a unified blockchain track and probably some blockchain prizes for that. And so I just want to get that seed planted in your brains for what's to come, because I think what we're going to start to see, not just from this forum, but from the hackathon, is a tremendous amount of innovation. And I think as the community starts to build this foundation, this platform, that innovation is going to accelerate. So that's just a couple words on the hackathon. All right, so we'll keep this very simple. We just have one slide. We think it's a big and important slide. David Berger will give us a couple of his comments on it. But today we are announcing that as part of the Integra Blockchain for Law platform, we're adding a second blockchain. As many of you know, the Global Legal Blockchain Consortium is platform agnostic, technology agnostic, blockchain agnostic. We believe that the agenda for this group, for this organization, it was the vision with which it was founded, was to develop the best solutions for the business of law, without regard to loyalties to pick your technology. So with that spirit, we're very pleased to announce that we are launching a second blockchain. This one's based on the Ethereum proof of authority blockchain that Microsoft has recently announced. I think it was just a week ago. This was really, we think, a watershed moment. I mean, as most people know, the Ethereum ecosystem is enormous, has the largest developer base, has the largest number of applications. But the challenge with Ethereum, and David can comment on this, is that for the purposes of enterprise, for the legal community, for privacy, security, stability of pricing of transactions, speed of transactions, you had the Ethereum public network, but for the private permission world that we've needed for enterprise and for law, public Ethereum is a challenging environment. Microsoft, we believe, has taken a huge step forward with their launch of the proof of authority consortium consensus model for the Ethereum blockchain hosted on Azure. And so we're very pleased to announce that Integra is now supporting that. It'll be accessible via the Integra API. David, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. So, as has been repeated over and over, Integra and the consortium really wanted to focus on a simple model where you hit an API, and we focused on some simple concepts: proof of existence, identity, key registry, which you've heard repeated from many people. There were some really cool use cases that Ethereum was better for, and we had hoped that the consortium would come together and groups like yourself would do some really cool things on Ethereum. So we chose Hyperledger, but because we had this API layer that you could hit, we always intended to be able to route requests, stand up later networks. Ethereum we were sure would be happening, and there's some other really cool blockchains. And there are problems with Hyperledger, there are problems with Ethereum, and you guys hit part of the Ethereum problem with proof of stake, which is one of the consensus mechanisms that has a good answer to it. But there's a consensus mechanism that is about a year old called proof of authority that matches really well with what we thought the consortium would be interested in. That is, you can establish trust rather than mining or with other things. If you really trust the members of the organization, and it's the various people who spoke in, if it's Wolters Kluwer's or Thomson Reuters, I mean, if these people, you have groups that are really, really, really trusted, you can speed up the network and be more efficient by relying on their authority, their identity. So it was an interesting thing. Microsoft happened to choose it when they were launching an Ethereum network. So we've been waiting until we felt there was a blockchain that really could stand up and do it. So we're going to launch a separate blockchain. And we still believe in hitting a common API, but that API will route you from one network to the other, or possibly even both, which is something, I will talk more about that. It's getting a little bit technical. But
just to what we think this enables now is for the law firms of the world, for the corporations of the world that have been struggling with trying to figure out a decision for what the future technology landscape is going to look like, and that hesitancy, that worry about committing to the wrong ecosystem, we think has held back investment and innovation. And so we think we've substantively solved that for the legal community by offering one pathway to both. And what this will allow, we think out of the box, is the ability to experiment with both, but very significantly it allows everyone in this room, the rest of the legal community, much of which has been involved in Ethereum, ICOs, token sales, that sort of thing, to now bring that development community into the legal tech environment. And so we think this, I'm not sure this doubles or triples the size of the engaged audience for this, but we think this presents a path forward that allows the entire legal community to now embrace this notion of common standards in blockchain and law. So we'll have more to come on this, and we'll have some further announcements about node hosting and that sort of thing. But as of today, it's now public. There's blockchain number 2. Thank you.